Imagine a man who fought 60 duels and never lost a single one. Not through luck or superior strength, through strategy. Miyamoto Musashi understood what most people miss. Life is a series of battles. With competition, with circumstances, with your own weaknesses. You can struggle chaotically, hoping for the best. Or you can act like a master, see patterns where others see chaos, find advantage where others give up. Musashi's strategy isn't about war. It's about clarity of thinking in moments of pressure, about turning uncertainty into opportunity, about understanding life's rhythm and knowing how to move in sync with it. His principles worked in the age of samurai. They work today in boardrooms, startups, personal relationships, because the essence of winning remains unchanged. And in this video, we'll break down the entire essence of Musashi's philosophy, brick by brick. Get comfortable. The journey begins. Part 1. The essence of strategy. Most people have the wrong idea about what strategy really is. It's not just about military leaders plotting out battles or top execs planning how to take over a company. Miyamoto Musashi dug deeper and found a more fundamental truth. For him, strategy was the art of the warrior, something leaders should master and everyone else should know. But Musashi's definition of a warrior went way beyond just being a fighter. Anyone committed to mastering their life and bringing value into the world is on the path of a warrior. Think about your routine. Every morning, you're greeted by a flood of choices, challenges, and opportunities. How do you decide what's worth your time and energy? What do you do when problems suddenly appear? How do you keep your edge when circumstances change rapidly? All of these are connected to strategy, and the way you address them steers the course of your life. Musashi talked about how life offers various paths. There's the Buddhist route to salvation, the Confucian way of governance and learning. Doctors find their purpose in healing, poets in sharing their verses. There's passion in tea, archery, and various arts and skills. Everyone has their path. But here's the insightful difference in Musashi's path. The warrior's way skillfully balances between the pen and the sword, valuing both equally. So, what does this mean in real life? True mastery bridges thought and action, combines study with practice, merges thinking with doing. Many people fall into two traps. They might be lifelong learners who read endlessly, but never put things into action. Or they might be busy workers who don't stop to think about the effectiveness of what they've done. Musashi knew that true success intertwines both these paths. Think deeply like a philosopher. Act decisively like a warrior. However, Musashi's understanding of strategy is even richer. He believed that strategy should be in harmony with nature. By observing how nature functions and understanding the rhythms and changes of situations, you can act with precision. It's not just about physical fighting, it's about aligning with the fundamental principles that make actions successful. Consider how a stream of water flows down a mountain. It doesn't confront the rocks head-on, but finds the easiest passage. When it meets a drop, it leaps forward boldly. On level ground, it spreads out gently, nourishing everything in its path. Water reaches the ocean not by force, but by leveraging natural laws. This is the mindset of top-tier strategic thinking. Now, imagine applying this idea to business. Instead of forcing a difficult solution, Dig into the context to understand its natural state. Identify where the opportunities lie and align your actions accordingly. Know when to push ahead and when to hold back for a better moment. Work with human nature, not against it. This is Musashi's idea of taking action naturally. Musashi emphasized the difference between his Ichi school and others. Many don't fully grasp what strategy means. Some strategists only focus on sword fencing, honing in on the technical aspects without seeing the whole picture. In today's terms, that's like sharpening tactics without a strategy, or mastering skills irrelevant to the key goals. People often excel at tasks that don't matter, winning small skirmishes while losing the significant battles. Musashi insisted on keeping an eye on the big picture by asking fundamental questions. What am I honestly trying to achieve? Is this leading me toward my primary goals or away from them? Am I engaged in the right fight at the right place and time? These questions separate genuine strategic thinkers from those just ticking off tasks. One of the strongest aspects of Musashi's strategic insight is his idea of universality. He suggested that if you truly understand one thing deeply, you can transfer that knowledge to countless other fields. In his view, mastering strategy grants you a clarity that lets you see everything clearly. This isn't just some mystical nonsense. It's genuinely practical. If you comprehend what sparks success in one area, you can harness that understanding broadly. For instance, the qualities that define an excellent swordsman, like timing, distance, rhythm, adaptability, preparation, focus, and commitment, are the same traits needed for a successful entrepreneur. The mindset necessary to win a duel can also lead to success in a business deal. Being calm and sharp, thinking strategically, understanding opponents, controlling emotions, and making bold moves when needed. Mastering martial arts isn't just about learning to fight. It's actually all about developing a kind of self-discipline that can help you thrive in anything you choose to pursue, whether it's art, science, or relationships. When you dive deep into the teachings of Musashi, you're not just collecting old wisdom for fun, you're actually building skills that have value in every part of life. Musashi believed that strategy was more than just about wielding a sword. He proposed a type of strategy that applied to everything in life, recognizing that every action can create effects that last. Each decision you make can either put you in a stronger position or make things tougher for you overall. The strength of your relationships can either propel you forward toward your goals or hold you back. Your everyday habits can inch you closer to who you aim to be or pull you away from that vision. A strategic thinker can connect these dots where most people just see unrelated events. They think about the long-term impacts instead of just dealing with what's right in front of them. They design processes that stand the test of time, unlike those who hop from one temporary solution to the next, probably ending up with even more issues. This way of thinking lays the groundwork for everything Musashi taught. Mastering this is like unlocking a key that makes everything else fall into place. But if you don't nail this core idea, even the flashiest moves won't save you when you're really in a bind. Musashi was known for saying that when you truly understand strategy, there's nothing beyond your grasp. This isn't just about what you can see. It means tuning your whole self to notice the underlying patterns that dictate success or failure in every corner of life. Part 2. Laying the groundwork for success. the rock-solid base. Earth stands for what's rock-solid and reliable. When Musashi chatted about the Earth book, he was essentially telling us how to lay a base so strong that it won't crumble under pressure. If you look at the top achievers around you, you'll notice it's not just about luck or natural gifts. It's their core values and principles that are unshakable. They have fine-tuned fundamental skills that everything they do stands upon. Their methods and mindset don't waver, no matter what comes their way. A common mistake folks make is trying to build fantastic things on flimsy foundations. They jump into fancy techniques without nailing the basics first. They obsess over results instead of the steps needed to get there. They focus on appearing successful rather than becoming genuinely capable. Musashi saw that this leads to eventual failure. In his Earth book, Musashi told his Ichi school students to get a grip on the small and big, the simple and complex, almost like following a well-defined path. This involves spotting patterns and links that others miss. It means connecting the dots from details to the broader picture, understanding how first impressions can hint at deeper insights. Let me give you an example. Many people start learning something new by trying out the flashy, advanced stuff. They're eager to skip over what seems boring and dive into the exciting parts. But Musashi would spend months, even years, getting the basic moves just right until they became instinctive. He knew that advanced skills are just the basics executed with perfect timing and precision. If your basics are weak, the fancy stuff won't stand. This principle stretches into life at large. Want to create a thriving business? Nail the essentials first. Know your customers, deliver value, manage resources, and be consistent. Want meaningful relationships? Learn to listen, empathize, communicate well, and be reliable. To achieve anything significant, you need to develop character traits and habits that make success a sure thing. The Earth book also highlights understanding your tools and environment. Musashi put in a lot of time studying different weapons, how terrains alter tactics, and weighing the pros and cons of various stances. He believed mastery comes from deeply knowing what you work with. Being effective without this understanding is nearly impossible. In modern terms, this means having a thorough grasp of the tools and context critical to your aims. If you're starting a business, clearly understand your market, customers, competition, resources, and any constraints. If you're learning a new skill, get the basics, know common mistakes, and understand the best improvement methods. Shallow knowledge won't cut it when challenges get tough. But mastering the Earth book isn't just about skills and knowledge. It's also about having the right mindset and learning approach. Musashi stressed studying hard, but knew effective learning required proper methods and attitudes. Random activities aren't the same as focused practice. Just reading about something doesn't mean you can apply it under pressure. Having facts isn't the same as having wisdom. The Earth Foundation calls for what Musashi referred to as seeing truly. This means understanding beneath the surface to find deep truths, questioning assumptions, and testing beliefs with real-world outcomes. It's about recognizing your true skill level instead of pretending to be more advanced than you are. Many people deceive themselves to avoid facing uncomfortable realities. But you can't build anything meaningful based on delusions. Consider how this affects personal growth. Many dream of transforming their lives but avoid honestly assessing their current situation. People often set goals based on where they want to be, not where they are. They chase strategies that sound appealing rather than those that genuinely fit their skills and circumstances. They wish to change things without confronting the discomfort of necessary changes. This mindset guarantees failure because it skips building on a solid foundation. The Earth Book suggests that real strength arises when you wholeheartedly embrace reality and then methodically build from there. It requires patience, as laying the groundwork isn't glamorous and often goes unnoticed. It demands discipline because sticking to the basics can feel mundane compared to diving into more advanced topics. You need humility to acknowledge what you don't know and begin anew. But what this approach gives you is something shortcuts can't. The true confidence that comes from genuine expertise. A strong foundation equips you to deal with any challenge because you understand the core principles underlying everything. Solid fundamentals give you the liberty to be creative because you always have a stable base to rely on. With profound rather than just broad knowledge, you can see connections and opportunities that others who only have a superficial understanding might miss. This is what Musashi meant when he said that understanding one thing deeply allows you to grasp 1,000 others. The Earth Book also stresses the importance of building your foundation in the right sequence. Musashi acknowledged that certain skills need to be developed first for others to become effective. You can't master advanced strategies without first getting a handle on the basics. You can't develop a knack for instinctive timing before learning deliberate execution. Before you can transcend rules, you must first internalize them thoroughly. Skipping these steps leads to confusion and, ultimately, failure. This step-by-step approach requires heaps of patience in a world that promises instant results. But Musashi knew that anything truly worthwhile takes time to construct properly. The foundation of Earth isn't something you can just set and forget. It demands ongoing care and refinement throughout your journey. Even when you're a master, you need to revisit the basics often to keep them sharp. The Earth is the support for everything else, so it deserves your utmost attention. Part 3. Water's got this incredible power, doesn't it? It's one of the strongest things in nature, but somehow it feels soft and gentle. Picture how water, over ages, has carved out the Grand Canyon. It doesn't battle the rock head-on. Instead, it just moves around obstacles, always choosing the path that's the easiest, and eventually it achieves what it's aiming for. That's what Musashi was getting at in his water book. He wanted us to learn how to handle life with the same adaptable strength. Many people, when they're faced with problems, approach them like a hammer targeting a nail. They assume that hitting something with sheer force will break through any barriers, and if that tactic fails, their solution is to just try harder. But when more force isn't the answer, they end up quitting or wearing themselves out, struggling with a problem that won't budge. Musashi figured out that attacking issues directly only works sometimes. True mastery? It's about adjusting your moves to match the specific nature of each problem. In his water book, Musashi lays out his innovative fighting style, Niten Ichi Ryu, which means 2 heavens as one. Instead of using both hands for one sword like everyone else back then, he held a long sword in one hand and a short one in the other. This approach gave him a lot more flexibility. He could defend himself and attack at the same time, adapt to either cramped places or wide open spaces, He could face different enemies with all sorts of technique combos. But let's be real. The lesson isn't about swinging swords. It's about building a whole range of skills that can be mixed and matched to adapt to different situations. Fast forward to today, and that means putting together a toolkit packed with varied skills, strategies, and perspectives that you can blend and adjust as needed. Instead of getting stuck in one role, develop abilities that complement each other. Look at successful entrepreneurs. They don't succeed by being the absolute top at just one skill. No, they're good at a bunch of interconnected things that work together. They know some tech, understand business, psychology, and how to communicate. They think about big strategies, but aren't afraid to get down to the specifics. They know when to lead and when to follow, how to dream big and then keep it real. Their mix of complementary skills lets them tackle anything. Musashi's water book teaches us that to adapt, you need to find balance and keep changing. He said that when your spirit's balanced, your body will be stable too. This focus keeps you from showing weaknesses to opponents. Stay calm and focused, no matter what's going on around you. But balance doesn't mean staying put. Just like water keeps its core nature yet fills any shape of the container it's in, you should hold tight to your core beliefs and values while changing your methods for different situations. Your character should be rock solid while your strategies can shift. Keep your main commitments firm, but let your tactics change. That's the true way to adapt. Take leadership as an example. Great leaders hold on to their core values and visions but adapt how they communicate with different groups. They stay true to their principles but remain open to new ways of doing things. They provide stability through their character while encouraging innovation within their teams. Tough when they need to be, gentle when kindness is called for. This isn't being inconsistent, it's being masterfully adaptable. Musashi's writings also talk about the importance of timing and rhythm. Think about how water never moves at a constant speed. It rushes down steep hills and meanders through flatlands. It pools in low spots and spills over higher ones. It's always following the terrain, but never strays from its course. This teaches us that taking effective action is about syncing our pace and intensity to fit the situation. Many people tend to move either too quickly or too slowly for what's going on. They try to rush progress when sitting back and being patient would be better, or they hesitate when quick action is needed. Instead, we should adjust our energy and speed to fit what each specific situation calls for. Being able to adjust your speed according to the situation is incredibly valuable. The Water Book teaches us a neat lesson about real power. It comes from recognizing forces and moving with them, rather than resisting them. Take the way water deals with a rock as a perfect example. It doesn't try to force the rock out of its path. Instead, it gracefully navigates around it, while gradually smoothing and shaping it over time. This quiet persistence and gradual change are key. Confront things head on and you might hit a wall of resistance. But if you cleverly work behind the scenes and adapt, you're likely to succeed more often and sustain that success. This applies to transforming businesses, influencing others, and personal development as well. Water also shows us the importance of persistence without getting overly attached. It always aims for the ocean, but stays open to different routes. Get blocked? It simply finds another path. Can't go round? It'll go over or even under. Worst case scenario, it stops and waits patiently until it can move again. Yet, it never loses sight of its ultimate destination. The biggest takeaway here from the water book is having a solid focus on your main objectives while being flexible in how you achieve them. Be ready to switch gears, try new tactics, and handle temporary setbacks as long as you keep your end goal in mind. This blend of dedication and adaptability is what empowers water to shape the world and allows people to accomplish the seemingly impossible. Moreover, the water book emphasizes the importance of keeping things in motion in our lives. When water is stagnant, it becomes unhealthy. In a similar way, if we stop evolving, learning, and adapting, we risk falling apart. Staying in motion means constantly challenging yourself, absorbing fresh ideas, and seeking new opportunities. It's about being willing to step out of your comfort zone when it no longer serves your growth. It means embracing short-term discomfort instead of enduring a lifetime of monotony. Part 4. When the moment of truth arrives, the world suddenly turns upside down. All those hours of prep work, the detailed strategies, and the precise planning get shoved aside by the raw energy of facing the challenge straight on. That's what the Fire Book is about. Those critical times where everything you've got hangs in the balance. It could be anything from closing a big business deal, dealing with a crisis, or going after a huge opportunity. That's when you need to dive into the thick of it and show what you're made of. Most folks are great when things are easy and predictable. They work like clockwork when there's no pressure or big stakes involved. But amp up the tension, cut down the time, and make the outcome really matter. And suddenly, many falter. Their polished skills fade away, their sharp focus gets fuzzy, and all that perfect preparation turns into a pause full of nerves. Musashi saw the gap between excelling in practice and performing under pressure as the mark dividing true masters from the rest. The Fire Book is about bridging that gap. It focuses on timing and the art of engaging directly in the moment. Musashi explained that timing is crucial in everything, whether it's music, dance, military action, archery, or horseback riding. Timing is a thread through all skills, but in combat it needs to be razor sharp, something peaceful practice doesn't demand. In a high-stakes situation, even a tiny error in timing can swing the outcome from victory to defeat. Think about crucial business negotiations. There's a precise moment when the other side is ready to agree. Miss it, and the opportunity might slip away forever. Understanding when to push harder, when to back off, when to compromise, and when to stand firm requires experience and an intense focus on what's happening right now. You can't rely on pre-prepared scripts because each situation is unique. The Fire Book emphasizes that handling stress gracefully comes from reaching a specific mental state. Musashi wrote that whether in battle or daily situations, you should be firm yet calm. Approach things without strain but not recklessly. Keep your spirit steady yet impartial. Even if calm internally, don't let your body relax too much. And even if your body is relaxed, keep your spirit sharp. This captures the state of relaxed intensity that's ideal for effectiveness under stress. You're fully tuned in and ready to act instantly, but there's no tension or worry. When things heat up, many people get either too tense or too lax. Too tense, and they can't adapt. Their actions become rigid, their thinking narrow. too lax, and they fail to act decisively when needed. Their reactions scatter. Their focus drifts. The Fire Book reveals the balance between being loose and ready, calm yet driven. It teaches the importance of sensing the rhythm of any situation. Every encounter, whether physical, mental, or emotional, has its own beat. There are times to push your advantage and times to pull back and strategize. There's a moment for all-out action and another to wait patiently. Mastering this rhythm and syncing with it gives you a big advantage over those who try to force their timing. This is what Musashi meant by striking naturally, landing blows instinctively. Moreover, the Fire Book underscores the importance of maintaining strategic clarity even amidst chaos. Under pressure, most people lose sight of their main goals, resorting to mere survival tactics. They make hasty decisions that backfire in the long run, clinching quick wins that lead to larger losses. Musashi understood that true skill involves balancing immediate tactics with overall strategy. You need to stay thoroughly in the moment while always keeping an eye on your ultimate path. Staying calm and collected can be a real challenge when the heat is on. It takes a lot of practice and gradually exposing yourself to more challenging scenarios. You can't just stick with what's easy and expect to grow. You need to constantly push yourself to handle more pressure while keeping a clear mind and staying effective, no matter what's happening around you. Musashi understood this, which is why he didn't waste his time with just wooden swords. He jumped into actual duels. He knew you can't fake real pressure, you have to dive right into it. The Fire Book goes into detail about how to cope with pressure. Go all in without getting hung up on the outcome. Once you're in the midst of it, you've got to give it everything you've got. If you hold back or hesitate, you're likely to crash and burn when it really matters. But here's the tricky part. You can't obsess over how things will end. Getting too fixated on the result can push you into desperation, and that's when things go sideways. Balancing, giving it your all, while not getting too wrapped up in the outcome, is the real struggle with managing pressure. Take, for instance, when you're working on a creative project with a looming deadline. You have to dive in completely, aiming to do your best in the time you've got. You can't take it easy or wait around for that perfect spark of inspiration, but you also can't be so worried about getting it just right that you end up freezing or missing the deadline altogether. So, you pour yourself into the work and accept that the result will be what it is, given the circumstances. This way, you can aim high while staying nimble enough to handle whatever comes your way. The Fire Book also emphasizes the importance of making firm decisions once you've chosen your course. Musashi pointed out that hesitating when it's crunch time can be deadly. Once you've decided to act, you need to dive in with full commitment straight away. Half-hearted efforts often lead to mediocre results, sometimes causing more issues than if you'd done nothing at all. But this isn't about throwing caution to the wind. Make sure you've thought things through before you move. Once you decide, go all in without looking back. In the end, the Fire Book teaches that mastering pressure is about turning challenges into opportunities. Instead of merely surviving high-pressure scenarios, real pros see them as chances to prove themselves and get even better. They welcome pressure because it brings out skills that aren't challenged in easy conditions. Changing your mindset from feeling intimidated to seeing a chance to shine totally transforms how you prepare for and face tough situations. Part 6. The Wind Book. When you're riding the wave of success, it's easy to think you got everything under control. But that's exactly when things can start to go south. In his Wind Book, Musashi gives a warning that goes against our natural instincts, sticking to our familiar ways. What he's suggesting is that you need to dive into various styles, techniques, and beliefs, not just to copy them, but to really dig into what's good, what's not, and why. This approach not only makes your style better, but also helps you avoid getting trapped into believing your way is the only way, because you've mastered one thing but ignored the rest. The Wind Book isn't really focused on Musashi's own Ichi school of thought. It's more about all the other schools of strategy out there. When he mentioned wind, he was talking about deeply rooted traditions, current trends, and even family habits. He wanted folks to understand that you can't truly grasp your own ways unless you understand others too. This concept isn't limited to just martial arts. It holds true when you're building a business, learning a new skill, or getting the hang of any complex area. You can't genuinely say you're a master without checking out different approaches. Most people look at their competition just to spot weaknesses to exploit or mistakes to avoid. But Musashi had a different angle. He genuinely wanted to understand the principles behind other schools' strategies, figuring out their assumptions and the contexts where they excelled, and why sometimes they might do better than his own. To do that, you've got to keep an open mind and be truly curious, not just out to beat the competition. Picture it from a business perspective. Companies often analyze their competitors merely to outwit them in the market, looking at aspects like pricing, product features, and marketing strategies. But the businesses that really thrive are the ones that understand their rivals to see how they cater to customer needs differently. They ask things like, are they addressing a customer need we're overlooking? Or do they have a clearer vision of the market than we do? This kind of mindset spurs innovation, rather than just copying what the competition is doing. The Wind Book teaches us that considering different methods can give you a fresh take on your own approach's limits and context. Every method has its golden moments and its downfalls. If you stick to just one way, you'll end up applying it everywhere, even when it's not suitable. But if you've explored other methods, you can decide when to use each one, adapting to the situation. It's like being a handyman equipped with a full toolkit instead of trying to use a hammer for every task. Checking out alternatives reveals something important: the core principles that sit beneath all successful methods. Once you've delved into enough approaches to solve the same problem, patterns begin to emerge. You'll notice that, despite appearing different, many methods share some key truths. Recognizing these patterns lets you pull out principles you can use in fresh, unknown situations. The Wind Book talks about the risk of getting too hooked on a specific method or tradition. Musashi noted that all paths have their detours. If you're on a path and veer even a bit, you might think you're on course, but in truth, you're not. And if you blindly stick to even effective methods without really understanding them, they can become outdated or irrelevant. Consider your career growth. Many people learn certain skills early on and then stop there, never really updating their knowledge or staying current. Here's the thing: people get so used to doing things their way that they don't realize when things around them change. They stick to their tried-and-true methods until suddenly those tricks don't work like they used to. They become blind to new ideas because they're not looking anymore. It's like they consider themselves pros because they know their routine so well, but they're missing the bigger picture. The Wind Book teaches this great lesson about really mastering your craft. It involves checking out how others deal with the same challenges. And it's not just about seeing what these other schools or styles are up to. It's about understanding why they do what they do. Just copying someone else's style without getting the reasoning behind it rarely works out well. If you just mimic someone's actions without understanding the big ideas driving them, you're likely to mess it up or apply it wrong. But when you truly grasp what's going on underneath, you can adapt it to suit you and your situation. That's the magic, turning something borrowed into real innovation because you've gotten to the heart of things enough to create something new. Think about how leaders grow. Lots of people try to imitate successful leaders they admire. They see how these leaders speak, make decisions, or manage their teams. But when they just copy these behaviors, they often end up disappointed. That's because these behaviors are only surface-level reflections of deeper, crucial ideas tailored to specific situations. True leadership growth involves digging into the core principles that truly define leadership, rather than just mimicking the successful leader's actions. The Wind Book reminds us that exploring different approaches should actually reinforce your faith in your own methods, not undermine it. When you know why you choose your methods after seeing what else is out there, it's because you understand, not just because you're stuck in a habit. This solid knowledge makes you much more flexible and strong than just going through the motions. Moreover, the Wind Book warns against a common mistake, judging others using your own standards. Doing that is a surefire way to misunderstand. Each approach has its own logic and goals. Really understanding another way requires seeing things from their perspective and judging it by their criteria. That's how you make smart comparisons and gain valuable insights. It's about expanding your mind to get how things make sense from different viewpoints at once. Part 6. The Void. Going Beyond Technique and Knowledge. There's a point in the journey to becoming a master where your brain can take a breather from all those techniques you've been drilling into your skull for ages. All the lessons and strategies you've gathered start to take a back seat to something deeper inside of you. When Musashi wrote about the void, he was talking about reaching the end game of learning. It's that sweet spot where you're no longer guessing your next move because you're in sync with the core principles that make everything effective. It's not about going all mystical. It's something real that true masters discover along their path. The void isn't about zoning out into some spiritual black hole. It's about pushing past the bounds of conscious thinking and being able to handle any curveball with ease. Folks often misunderstand the void, thinking it's about entering some intangible spiritual zone that's unrelated to real-world tasks. But Musashi was all about the practical side of things. His teachings were tried and tested in situations where it was do or die. When he talked about the void, he was touching on a real state of mindfulness that takes your performance to a whole new level in any field. This is a space where your knowledge transforms into wisdom, where your moves happen naturally, and thinking evolves into understanding on an instinctive level. The void kicks in when the principles are so ingrained in you, your actions happen without a second thought. They just flow right, perfectly matching the moment. You start tuning into a deeper intelligence that captures patterns and insights faster than your conscious mind ever could. That's why, if you ask masters how they pull off their stuff, they often struggle to verbalize it. They've moved beyond merely knowing techniques and live in a realm where wisdom is simply a part of them. Their wisdom isn't a tool. They don't have to consciously wield it. It's just a piece of who they are. Think about a musician jamming on stage. They're not thinking about scales or sweating over chord progressions. They've mastered that stuff so well it practically runs on autopilot. Their mind is free to explore more, the emotion behind the notes, locking in with their bandmates, and vibing with the crowd. They dare to dive into new musical territory because their foundation is solid as a rock. The basics are a given. That's the visible side of the void at play. The void ties together all the skills from earlier stages. Earth gives you a solid base of skills and know-how. Water helps you adapt and move smoothly. Fire hones your edge, pushing you to excel under pressure. Wind offers perspective, letting you see the whole picture and weigh your choices. In the void, it all merges into seamless mastery. But you can't just leapfrog straight to the void. You have to travel through each stage step by step. Musashi pointed out that within the void, there's virtue and zero wrongdoing. Wisdom, principles, the path, they're all there, and your spirit is like nothing else. It's describing a state where your actions naturally align with what's right and effective. You're no longer caught up in the tug-of-war between what you want and what you should do. Your desires and moral compass are finally in sync. When all that inner turmoil fades, it stops draining your energy. That energy is now funneled into meaningful actions. The void also lets you move past worrying about external judgment. Living in the void means your confidence and sense of direction come from within, not based on whether the world gives you a thumbs up or thumbs down. You're not numb to criticism or praise. You simply don't let it dictate things for you. You remain engaged with your surroundings, learning as you stay true to yourself. Most importantly, the void captures Musashi's idea of knowing what isn't there by understanding what is. It's all about spotting potential and futures that might not yet be visible. When you truly understand the heart of any concept, you start to see possibilities in situations you've never faced before. You end up a step ahead, picking up on shifts before others do, and spotting opportunities or risks that haven't appeared yet. This level of insight gives you a significant advantage, whether you're in a competitive industry or working on a creative project. Take the world of entrepreneurship, for example. The best entrepreneurs have this incredible talent for identifying opportunities that most people miss. They can detect market needs before they become obvious, foresee technological advancements before everyone else is aware, and perfectly time the launch of ideas that once seemed too early. It's not just a matter of luck or an inexplicable intuition. It's about understanding the fundamental principles so well that they can extend current patterns into future possibilities. On a similar note, there's a concept that Musashi called natural striking, connected to a state known as the void. It's all about taking action with perfect timing and just the right force without overthinking the situation. You respond naturally to what's going on because your understanding is deep instead of following a set plan or emotional reaction. This approach allows you to be flexible yet consistent, unlike those who get trapped in their thoughts. You can quickly adapt to changes while staying true to your core beliefs, which is the essence of strategic growth. But how does one develop the void state? It doesn't come from forcing it or rushing through. It results from years of dedicated practice, reflection, and continuous improvement. You must completely master each level before progressing, ready to let go of methods that once served you but now hold you back. Crucially, you should keep an open mind, even as you develop your expertise. Achieving the void state involves having what's known as no mind or no preferences, a principle Musashi emphasized. This doesn't mean you don't have opinions or principles. Rather, it means you're not stuck on specific outcomes or particular approaches. You can chase your goals without being rigid about achieving them, exactly as initially envisioned. You'll be able to use various techniques freely and maintain strong values without being too rigid about applying them. This type of openness allows you to respond appropriately to whatever comes up, rather than trying to force reality to match your expectations. True freedom is found in this approach, and it's the ultimate reward of genuine learning. Part 7. About 5 days before he succumbed to his inevitable fate, Miyamoto Musashi felt that his time was nearly up. His body, worn down from countless battles and the harsh existence of a wanderer samurai, was finally giving in. Yet, his intellect remained as sharp as ever. Settled in his cave sanctuary, he took up his brush one last time to write what would become his most personal and profound work. The Dokodo, or the Path of Aloneness, wasn't crafted for his followers or future readers. It was his method of distilling a lifetime of wisdom into 21 principles for anyone striving to live with dignity and intention. While his renowned Book of 5 Rings discussed strategies and techniques, the Dokodo delved into something more fundamental, the essence of being human. It addressed preserving one's integrity in a world riddled with deceit, finding purpose when familiar structures collapse, and leading a meaningful life, even when journeying in solitude. These 21 tenets encapsulated all that Musashi had gleaned, not just about warfare and strategy, but about existence as a whole. The word Ronin translates to wave man, signifying someone wandering without a master. In Musashi's day, this condition was considered disgraceful. A devoted samurai was supposed to commit seppuku, a ritual suicide, following their master's demise to demonstrate ultimate loyalty. Those who survived were stripped of their honor and became vagrants. Musashi spent much of his life as a ronin, crafting his own ethical framework and discovering personal satisfaction without institutional backing. This remarkable path taught him lessons beyond the reach of traditionally successful individuals. Musashi realized something critical about opting for the solitary path. In the absence of external support systems, one must cultivate inner strengths that are far more dependable. Deprived of titles and status, you're pushed to develop genuine talents and character. Without seeking validation from others, you learn to rely on your intuition, and without predetermined routes, you navigate life through principles rather than rules. Though challenging, the journey of solitude offers a kind of liberty and authenticity that most people never experience. The Dokodo isn't academic philosophy. Each of its principles was forged by real-life experience. Musashi didn't conceive these concepts in security or comfort. He lived them through years of danger and uncertainty. These principles not only safeguarded him in perilous times, they kept him sane during solitary periods and spurred his growth when it would have been easier to simply remain as he was. This grounding in first-hand experience gives the Dokodo an authority that purely theoretical works just don't possess. In today's world, the lessons of the Dokodo are exceptionally pertinent, reflecting the modern-day experience of a Ronin. Traditional support systems like religion, community, and family don't provide the stability and direction they once did. Career paths are unpredictable, and job security is no longer a given. More frequently, individuals are tasked with finding their own purpose and direction in life without clear templates or support systems. In a multitude of ways, we all resemble Ronin today, navigating a world filled with uncertainty, relying solely on ourselves. Musashi's hard-won insights about thriving under such conditions are increasingly pressing. Yet, choosing a solitary path doesn't equate to isolation. Musashi had disciples, friendships, and meaningful interactions. It's about taking full responsibility for your growth, choices, and consequences. It means not depending on others for motivation, purpose, or self-worth. It's about being strong enough to stand independently when necessary, while being open to connection. At its core, it involves nurturing such inner strength and clarity that you can freely share with others from a place of generosity, not need. The 21 principles of the Dokodo address every aspect of leading this kind of life. They provide guidance on managing pleasure and pain, triumph and defeat, relationships with others, and reflections on oneself. They illustrate how to maintain inner equilibrium even when the world around you is in constant flux. These guidelines help you figure out how to live with intention and honesty, even when no one's watching or showering you with praise. It's like having a personal playbook for living life on your own terms, without seeking outside validation or assistance. But here's the hitch. Most people don't like what it demands from you. Following these guidelines means you have to face some harsh truths about yourself and your circumstances. It requires taking full responsibility for your actions and outcomes without blaming anyone else or coming up with excuses. It's all about developing discipline and self-control from within. You've got to find your own sense of purpose and motivation instead of leaning on others. Most people prefer relying on external systems, even if they're limiting, because true independence asks for a lot of effort and personal accountability. This solo path isn't for everyone, but it's open to those ready to face its challenges. Each one of the 21 precepts links up with the others, forming a complete guide for living independently. They're not just random pieces of advice, but parts of a well-crafted system. Together, they address the common stumbling blocks that hold people back from reaching their full potential. They provide practical solutions for universal human struggles like handling loss, managing desires, dealing with criticism, and staying motivated for the long haul. They teach you how to turn obstacles into opportunities and setbacks into stepping stones. They show you to find value in every experience, even the challenging ones. But perhaps the most significant lesson from the Dokodo is learning to live without regrets. By sticking with these principles, you'll know you're giving your best in any situation. You're not wasting time on things that don't truly matter. You're not making decisions out of fear, greed, or ego that you'll later want to reverse. You're building a life that reflects your core values and highest aspirations. This leads to a kind of peace and fulfillment that no external success can ever replace. Part 8. The first pillar, embracing reality without struggle. The first rule in the Dakota approach takes a road less traveled by most self-help advice. Accept everything exactly as it is. This isn't about giving up or abandoning your goals. Instead, it's the solid foundation for meaningful action, and where true understanding starts. You just can't deal with life effectively unless you see it clearly, without wishful thinking or denying the facts. Much of the pain humans endure isn't because of reality itself, but because we fight against it. We waste so much energy battling things that are fixed and can't be changed, rather than focusing on what we do have the power to change. Think about it. How often do you catch yourself wishing the past had gone differently, beating yourself up over choices, ruminating on bad breaks, or daydreaming about how wonderful things could have been if they had turned out another way? This mental noise, it's futile. The past is locked, it's done, over, and can't be altered. Regretting or wishing won't change it even a bit. But fighting against what's already happened just zaps your energy that could be used to build a better future. This principle applies to your current situation too. Maybe your finances aren't great, your health is a concern, your family life is tough, or your job situation isn't ideal. But this is where you are right now, and these are the cards you've got to play. If you use your energy to complain or fantasize about how life should be, you miss out on real opportunities hidden in your current circumstances. Acceptance doesn't mean you must be thrilled with your situation. It means you stop wasting energy resisting what's real and start using it to make the most of what's actually available. Musashi learned this lesson the hard way. As a Ronin, he faced constant uncertainty, societal disdain, and life-threatening situations. He could have easily spent his time pining over his misfortunes. Instead, he accepted his circumstances and redirected his energy into sharpening his skills in the here and now. Embracing reality allowed him to turn every experience, even the tough ones, into something useful, and kept him from being consumed by the emotional turmoil that ensnares those who resist reality. But accepting things as they are isn't as simple as it sounds. Our minds are quite good at concocting stories about how things should be, rather than facing how things truly are. We create expectations rooted in past experiences, societal norms, or personal desires. When reality doesn't match these expectations, we feel disappointed, upset, or angry. These emotions seem justified because our expectations appear reasonable. But it's not the expectations that are unreasonable. It's the fact that reality doesn't bow to our expectations. It has its own course. Consider how this manifests in relationships. You might have preconceived notions about how people should behave. Perhaps you believe kindness should always be returned, or hard work should naturally lead to recognition and rewards. These expectations seem fair enough, but they aren't guaranteed. Others have their own agendas and circumstances that influence their actions. If your peace of mind depends on others behaving as you think they should, you're surrendering control over your emotional state. Acceptance means understanding that people behave according to their own nature and circumstances, not what you'd prefer. This doesn't mean you let people walk all over you or stop trying to influence them. It means you deal with them as they are, not as you'd like them to be. By acknowledging someone's current capabilities, motivations, or understanding, you improve communication. Recognizing their limitations allows you to work around or compensate for them. Building on their strengths helps in achieving common objectives. This kind of acceptance doesn't just maintain your influence, it actually enhances it, because you're operating within reality instead of fighting it. Think of embracing yourself as making the best of what you've got, even if some traits or parts of your history aren't your favorites. Instead of dreaming about being someone else, honestly, evaluate who you are now and figure out how you can evolve into the person you aim to be. Self-acceptance doesn't mean letting yourself off the hook or finding excuses for your shortcomings. It's about, frankly, acknowledging your current reality so you can take constructive steps forward. Without this recognition, improvement is off the table. Understand that change is a gradual process that comes in stages. You're not going to change overnight or skip the necessary steps of growth. If you try to speed things up, you'll just end up frustrated when progress doesn't meet your timeline. Accepting that growth takes time helps keep you steady by shielding you from disappointment caused by setting the bar too high. Patience is incredibly valuable, and perhaps the most crucial part of acceptance is realizing you don't have to steer everything. You can't control other people's actions, foresee every market fluctuation, stop natural events, or dictate all outcomes. Your control lies in your own decisions, efforts, and reactions. Understanding this shields you from wasting energy on what's beyond your reach and channels your efforts toward what you can influence. This perspective shift is transformative, moving you from feeling helpless to feeling empowered. Acceptance isn't a one-time thing. It's something you cultivate daily. Every day throws new challenges at you that require clarity and flexibility. Each day is another chance to go with reality rather than fight it. The more you practice acceptance, the more it becomes second nature. Over time, it becomes your default mode of handling life, building a foundation of inner peace and practical effectiveness that external chaos can't disturb. Part 9. Purpose over pleasure. It's time to stop chasing after those quick pleasures that seem so tempting. This second principle really gets to the heart of what holds people back from reaching their full potential. In today's world, we're surrounded by things promising instant gratification. Take tasty food that's bad for your health in the long run, or shows that keep you glued for hours without truly satisfying you. Shopping can give you a brief thrill, but later you might wonder, why did I buy this? Social media. It's addictive, but can leave you distracted and lower your self-esteem. The world seems designed to keep us chasing these short-lived pleasures, preventing us from achieving real and lasting success. Musashi figured this out, something we seem to have lost. True joy doesn't come from just doing what feels good right now. It comes from becoming the person you aspire to be. Pleasure shouldn't be your main goal. Instead, it should be an added bonus from engaging in meaningful pursuits. If your life's centered on seeking happiness, you might end up feeling empty, needy, and pretty miserable. But focus on bettering yourself and contributing to the world, That's when joy naturally comes from your efforts. And this kind of joy is much deeper and longer lasting than any quick fix you might chase. Think about the difference between indulging in junk food and staying in great shape. Junk food gives you a quick buzz, but you feel lousy afterward. Staying fit might require sacrifice, but it rewards you with a feeling of well-being and an uplifted life. You can apply this same concept anywhere. Dodging challenging tasks might feel nice for a short time, but building the resilience to tackle them brings long-lasting, profound satisfaction. This doesn't mean you need to live joylessly, ignoring all pleasure. Musashi appreciated art, poetry, and nature. The key is not letting pleasure drive or define your whole life. His art sharpened his wit, poetry helped him process things, and time in nature taught him lessons he applied to his strategies and life. The danger of making pleasure your ultimate goal is that over time you'll need bigger thrills just to feel the same amount of happiness, leading you toward addiction as you keep seeking more external hits. A life success builds incrementally, leading to more significant victories. This satisfaction is lasting and deep, taking you beyond yourself and your own desires. Living a purpose-driven life demands patience and perseverance. Real achievements take time. You have to trust that your efforts will pay off, even if progress is slow. This is a huge contrast to chasing pleasure, where you know right away if it's enjoyable. You need to love the process itself, not just the end result. Take, for instance, learning a new skill. Achieving expertise demands countless hours of practice, most of which isn't all that exciting. Mastering a skill requires repetitive practice, fixing errors, and gradually improving, sometimes a long, tedious journey. If you're after instant gratification, you'll likely quit before becoming proficient. But if you learn to find meaning in the journey and appreciate the small gains along the way, you'll stay motivated to truly excel. The fulfillment from reaching this level of expertise is vastly richer than any fleeting pleasure. It's all about connecting with something timeless and significant, rather than what's temporary and trivial. The idea here is simple. Don't just trust your gut reactions. Those instant feelings are really just your emotions reacting to what's happening in the moment, not a reflection of a deeper understanding. For example, when you're angry, you only notice what bothers you more. When you're excited, everything seems amazing. When you're scared, everything feels like a threat. These narrow views might lead you to choices that seem okay right now, but could cause trouble later. Musashi got that emotions can be informative, but they shouldn't run the show. Fear might protect you from harm, but it could also stop you from taking the bold steps you need. Anger can drive you to stand up against injustice, but it could also make you react in ways you'll regret. Love might push you to take care of others, but sometimes those decisions might not be the best for everyone involved. The key is to notice your emotions without letting them boss you around. Think of them as pieces of information while making decisions based on more profound principles and big-picture thinking. This calls for what Musashi called a settled spirit, which is a calm center that remains solid no matter what's happening around you or within. It doesn't mean ignoring your feelings or acting like they don't exist. It's about being able to fully feel them while still using your head to act appropriately. Having this kind of handle on your emotions is vital if you're trying to do something worthwhile. Without it, you could easily find yourself being pushed around by every mood that comes along. Part 10. Perspective and Detachment. Basically, it encourages you to not take yourself too seriously while having a thoughtful approach to the world around you. This new way of viewing things can truly be life-changing. Generally, people get caught up in their own dramas, always worrying about their issues, wants, fears, personal standing, and comfort. It's like they're the stars of their own movie while everything else plays a minor role. This self-centered mindset not only keeps them stressed, but also blocks their path to gaining the wisdom and skills needed to solve problems efficiently. When Musashi talks about not taking yourself too seriously, he doesn't mean you should belittle yourself. Instead, he wants you to remember that your problems and preferences aren't the center of the universe. They matter, but they're temporary and fixable. This way of thinking lifts the burden of thinking you're super important, which often makes situations harder. People often make things worse by adding unnecessary mental stress. Instead of just dealing with a challenge, they throw in anxiety about what others think, frustration over unfairness, and fear of handling it poorly. The main problem might be solvable, but all that additional emotional baggage makes it feel impossible. Thinking lightly of yourself helps you focus on what's really happening, not just the story you tell yourself about it. On the other hand, thinking deeply about the world means more than just staying informed about news. It's about having a genuine interest in understanding how things really work. How do people make decisions? How do companies function? How do markets operate? How does real change happen? How do natural systems thrive? Many folks have only a surface-level understanding of these things because they don't dig deep enough to really get them. Truly grasping these ideas is crucial if you want to navigate reality successfully. It sets the stage for effective actions in any field. Consider how this shift in perspective changes how you solve problems. When you're focused only on yourself and blind to the bigger picture, you end up tangled in how issues make you feel. You waste time managing your emotions instead of understanding the situation. But if you let go of your self-importance and dive deep into how things actually function, you start figuring out the root causes of problems and learn principles that can solve them. This kind of insight often reveals solutions you'd otherwise overlook and helps reduce the emotional burden, making it easier to address challenges calmly and effectively. Building on perspective, there's also the fifth principle. Strive to stay unattached to desires throughout your life. Being detached doesn't mean you shouldn't want anything or that you should ignore what happens. It's more about not letting your desires rule your happiness. When you're too wrapped up in your wants, desperation sets in, which can push you toward bad decisions because you're more focused on getting what you desire than choosing wisely. Desperation can also make you vulnerable to people who try to manipulate you by promising to satisfy your wants. Detachment allows you to pursue goals without being chained to them. You can strongly desire something and yet be okay if it doesn't work out. You can chase goals while being open to unexpected possibilities. You can care deeply about outcomes without them dictating your self-worth or peace of mind. This kind of detachment can actually make you more effective at achieving your goals because you're not weighed down by anxiety over the results. Plus, it makes you more resilient when things don't go as planned. Most importantly, detachment empowers you to act wisely rather than out of sheer impulse. When desires grip you tightly, They steer your choices, even if those choices aren't the best for you. You might know something isn't beneficial, yet the urge is so strong, you go for it anyway. You might sense a plan is unlikely to work out, but you pursue it regardless because you're so eager for what it promises. By letting go of this tight grip, you can avoid sabotaging yourself. It allows you to make decisions based on what's likely to succeed, not just on what you hope will happen. The sixth main idea here is to not get stuck in feelings of regret over things you've done. This ties into having a healthy perspective and being able to let stuff go. Regret is often one of the most useless emotions. It keeps your mind stuck on the past, which is something you can't change, instead of focusing on the future where your actions can make a difference. It drains your energy that could be used for something more worthwhile. Plus, it can stop you from taking risks you need to take because you're afraid of ending up with more regrets. Regret traps you in a cycle of self-critique without providing any real benefit. But avoiding regret isn't about making reckless decisions or ignoring past lessons. It's about making the best choice with the info and know-how you have at the time, and then accepting what comes without being hard on yourself. Every decision is a lesson, even if things don't go as planned. These lessons are truly beneficial when you learn from them without being dragged down by regret over the price you paid to get them. With this mindset, you're more willing to take calculated risks and are better prepared to learn from whatever happens. This creates a positive cycle where your judgment improves and your skills grow over time. These three principles together set up a mental freedom that opens up possibilities. When you don't take yourself too seriously, you're not burdened by an inflated ego. When you think deeply about life and everything around you, you gain the clarity needed to make meaningful actions. When you're not tormented by cravings, you're not driven by compulsive needs. When you let go of regret, you're not stuck reliving the past. This combination leads to a clear and effective mindset, enabling you to deal with whatever life throws at you in the most effective way possible. Part 11. The fourth pillar. Emotional sovereignty. Don't let jealousy take over your life. When a relationship ends, don't let it bring you down. Holding grudges and constantly complaining doesn't benefit you or anyone else. Musashi's 7th, 8th, and 9th rules emphasize how relying emotionally on others can lead to a heap of problems. Many people don't realize they're giving away their emotional power to the circumstances around them. Their mood swings with the tide of current events. When everything is smooth sailing, they're happy, and when things go south, they're crushed. They chase validation from others to feel worthy, and when it's absent, they feel miserable. This constant need for outside affirmation makes them vulnerable, unpredictable, and not as effective as they could be. Musashi understood that true strength comes from having a handle on your emotions, regardless of what's happening outside of you. Jealousy is one of the most harmful feelings because it saps your mental energy and gets you nowhere. If you're jealous of someone else's achievements, relationships, or benefits, you're essentially implying that their success somehow diminishes yours, which isn't how it works. Most of the time, success isn't limited to a single winner. Someone else's achievements don't block you from getting your own. Their happiness doesn't lessen what's available to you. Instead of being bitter about what they have, maybe let their advantages motivate you to aim for similar accomplishments. Jealousy can make you overlook these opportunities by focusing on your shortcomings rather than potential. But on the other hand, jealousy can highlight what's truly important to you. You become envious of things you genuinely wish for yourself. If wealth provokes your jealousy, it suggests you value financial success more than you acknowledge. If you're envious of someone's close relationships, it highlights your own desire for deeper connections. If you crave recognition, jealousy might reveal your wish for your contributions to be acknowledged. Instead of drowning in these feelings, use them to pinpoint your true goals. Transform jealousy into a driving force by turning envy into inspiration. The real question is, how can you achieve what they have? Separations are just part of the journey of life. People grow apart, relationships end, beloved ones die, projects conclude, and phases of life wind down. If you let every separation drag you down, you'll find yourself stuck mourning things you can't change. Musashi wasn't saying you should be stoic or not care about loss. He meant that lingering on separation can prevent you from appreciating what was once there and might stop you from seizing new opportunities and relationships. Every connection provides learning. Every experience shapes you. Dwelling on the sorrow of something ending might make you miss out on all the positives you gained. When someone important leaves your life, they don't remove the influence they had on you. The growth, insights, and shared moments stay with you. Thus, meaningful relationships never truly vanish. They become part of your character and capabilities. Realizing this helps you cherish the past while being open to the future. Resentment and complaints majorly drain emotional energy. Resentment involves holding on to past grievances that can't be altered. Constant complaints reflect discontent with the present while avoiding efforts to change it. Both focus your attention on negativity, preventing you from seeing opportunities for improvement. They foster a negative environment that can affect others and complicate teamwork. They make you feel like a victim of circumstances instead of someone who can initiate change. The biggest issue with harboring resentment and complaints is that they become habitual. The more you fixate on problems, the more easily you spot them. This fixation turns your outlook potentially pessimistic and critical, blinding you to seeing things from a clearer, more insightful perspective. You'll find that your productivity drops when you're always picking at problems instead of working on solutions. Plus, constantly complaining isn't exactly charming and doesn't help in building those meaningful connections you need to succeed. Instead of being stuck in a cycle of bitterness and moaning, take a page from Musashi and embrace something known as radical responsibility. This approach means shifting your focus away from others' mistakes to what you can do right. Don't whine about the hand you've been dealt. Instead, figure out how to make it work to your benefit. It's about using your energy for finding solutions rather than lingering on the issues. Imagine how this mindset could transform your work life. Loads of people end up spending ages grumbling about their bosses, colleagues, or the workplace policies. Sure, complaining might help you connect temporarily with others who are just as frustrated, but it doesn't actually improve anything. The energy spent venting could be better used in learning new skills, building stronger work relationships, or even paving the way to a job that suits you better. Complaining can make you feel productive, but really, It's just playing pretend without taking on the challenge and effort needed to genuinely change things. Being emotionally in control doesn't mean you become an emotionless robot. It's more about choosing how you respond emotionally rather than letting life's ups and downs dictate your reactions. You can grieve a loss without getting submerged in agony. You can get angry at injustice, but not let the rage take over. You can feel disappointed by setbacks without being immobilized. Emotions serve as signals and motivators, but you are the one who decides how to interpret those signals and choose your next steps. To master emotional control, start practicing in increasingly challenging situations. First, notice when something outside yourself triggers an automatic reaction. Try to create a pause between that trigger and your reaction. During that pause, ask yourself if this emotional reaction aligns with your bigger goals. If it does, fully embrace it and let it fuel appropriate action. If not, acknowledge it and choose a better response. Over time, this becomes second nature, helping you stay emotionally grounded no matter what's going on. This stability forms the foundation for everything else you achieve. Part 12 dives into Musashi's thinking on love, choices, and freedom. The advice is to avoid letting lust or affection dictate your actions. The 10th and 11th lessons from Musashi explore how to live without letting love guide every step. How do you make decisions without having a favorite? Society keeps telling us things like follow your heart and chase your dreams, but Musashi's lessons are a bit different. He's not telling you to suppress your feelings, but to find a type of freedom that not everyone knows. It's about loving without being possessed by it and making choices without them having power over you. Musashi warns about getting swept up in strong emotions like lust and love because they can cloud your judgment. Love might make you ignore big red flags in a relationship, and lust could lead you to make quick decisions that might mess up your long-term goals. Being overly caught up in romance might make you lose track of your values or ignore your obligations. Such intense feelings can seem like reality, but they're often just a passing storm that you might regret later. Musashi saw talented people let their lives unravel because they made decisions in the heat of emotion. But this doesn't mean shunning love or meaningful relationships. It's more about keeping your cool and holding on to your values, even when feelings are high. Genuine love helps you grow and brings out your best, while fake love makes you change to make someone else happy. By keeping emotional independence, you can appreciate loving relationships without losing yourself. You can be deeply caring without needing someone else's approval to feel secure. This actually makes you a stronger partner, bringing your full self rather than dependence or neediness. You end up loving from a standpoint of abundance, not from a sense of lack. The idea of dropping preferences is even tougher to wrap your head around. Preferences seem crucial for making decisions. How do you choose between options if you don't favor one? Musashi isn't talking about everyday choices, though. He's advising not to be tied to specific outcomes. When you cling to a certain result, you feel pain if it doesn't happen. But if you're flexible about achieving your goals, you can adapt and seize unexpected opportunities. Letting go of rigid preferences means aligning with your core values, so you can pursue them through whatever avenue works best. Consider career advancement in this light. Many people get fixated on certain titles, companies, or career paths. When those aren't available, they feel blocked. They might ignore opportunities that don't align with their plans, even if those paths could lead to unexpected success. Someone who lets go of strict preferences aims at broader goals like gaining valuable skills, making a real impact, earning enough, or working alongside respected people. There are countless paths to these objectives. Being open to different paths unveils opportunities that rigid preferences would miss, easing the stress tied to specific results. Having no preferences also means taking life as it comes without wishing it were different. If you prefer comfort but face hardships, embrace those challenges and see what they offer. If you yearn for recognition but aren't noticed, find joy in doing the work itself. If you chase success but meet failure, learn from it and prepare for future wins. This kind of adaptability allows you to thrive anywhere, rather than depending on certain conditions to do well and feel good. Being almost unbeatable comes from not letting what's happening around you interfere with your sense of purpose and drive to move forward. Something really eye-opening about not being attached to one preference is that it lets you see opportunities you might miss if you were too focused on one outcome. If you're locked in on one goal, you might pass up other, possibly better, possibilities. When you're open to different paths, you're ready to grab the best opportunity that appears. Achieving this means you've got to trust in your own ability to add value in any situation and have a bit of belief that life often provides what you need, even if it wasn't what you initially wanted. This kind of trust and belief can't be forced. It grows naturally as you become better at handling life's ups and downs. The 12th idea, that it doesn't matter where you live, brings this concept into your actual environment. For Musashi, this meant being fine whether you were in a comfy house or sleeping outdoors. Nowadays, it's more about not needing everything to be perfect to feel good or get your work done. Some folks require everything to be just so. The right climate, perfect lighting, top equipment, and a specific ambiance to be productive. When these conditions aren't met, their efficiency plummets. These dependencies make them vulnerable and narrow their options. On the flip side, someone who isn't particular about their surroundings can remain effective and content regardless of where they find themselves. They've developed an internal toolkit for finding comfort and focus, no matter what's around them. This doesn't mean living carelessly or accepting bad conditions when improvements are available. It's about thriving even when things aren't perfect. This adaptability is liberating because it expands your options and reduces dependencies. You can consider possibilities that others might overlook because the conditions aren't perfect. You're able to get things done amid changing situations that might disrupt others who need everything to be just right. This kind of flexibility is more vital in a world where change is constant and ideal conditions are rare. All these concepts blend together, granting you an inner freedom that's independent of your external circumstances. When you aren't tangled up by emotions, fixated on specific outcomes, or dependent on particular conditions, you achieve genuine freedom. It's not about acting without consequences, but rather about responding appropriately to whatever comes your way. This kind of freedom lets you pursue your core values even when faced with challenges. You're free to love without fearing loss, free to strive without being tethered to the results, free to appreciate comfort without becoming dependent on it, free to face hardships without being broken by them. This kind of freedom is fundamental to mastery and genuine happiness. It's something only you can cultivate through continuous practice and vigilance, and once you've got it, it changes everything in your life. Part 13. The sixth pillar: simplicity and independence. Don't get caught up in fancy meals or hang on to stuff that's no longer essential. Lessons 13 and 14 highlight how our craving for material comforts can silently take control. In today's world, we're constantly tempted by unnecessary luxuries: better clothes, smarter gadgets, tastier food, and more advanced gear. Individually, each seems harmless or even beneficial, but collectively, they can tie us down, wearing us out, and limiting our freedom. Musashi believed that simplifying life doesn't mean deprivation, it means liberation. The fewer things you require to be happy and functional, the more freedom comes your way. Take food, for example. While it should primarily fuel our bodies, it's turned into a form of entertainment today. Loads of time, money, and energy go into chasing distinct flavors and unique dining experiences. Some folks become so attached to specific foods or dining atmospheres that they feel something's missing if they can't have them, even when perfectly healthy alternatives are available. This dependency can trap them, making it difficult to adapt to new environments or tough situations. Musashi saw food merely as nourishment, nothing else. This perspective didn't leave him feeling deprived. Instead, it saved him from the time and effort others might waste on meal planning. He would eat whatever was accessible without fuss or disappointment. Thus, he avoided the digestive issues others might face when overindulging or opting for rich meals. Crucially, he avoided using food as a comfort, which could distract him from other life focuses. Without relying on sensory delights for contentment, he could seek more meaningful fulfillment from accomplishments, helping others, and personal growth. This shift enhances overall happiness, since these deeper sources of joy last longer than the fleeting pleasures from external sources. A similar concept applies to possessions. Everything you own demands some of your mental or physical effort. You need to find a place to keep it, make sure it stays safe, look after it, and eventually replace it. You figure out where to store it and remember its location. You might insure it to guard against loss and worry over its condition. Even worse, you can get so attached to things that it limits your flexibility and freedom. Moving to new locations becomes challenging due to being weighed down by belongings. You can't take financial risks because of ongoing expenses. Opportunities requiring sacrifices might slip through your fingers because you're focused on maintaining your current lifestyle. In reality, your possessions start to own you. Musashi spent much of his life traveling, which meant anything he had to be easy to move or could be left behind. This made him carefully evaluate his belongings. Did each serve an important role to justify its weight? Most didn't. He held onto his swords, some writing materials, and little else. His minimalist approach gave him incredible freedom. He could travel anywhere without detailed plans hemming him in. Instead of juggling a pile of possessions, his focus stayed sharp on improving his skills. He could take risks others couldn't afford, weighed down as they were by too many belongings. Embracing simplicity wasn't limiting. It was empowering. However, it requires discipline. Accumulating more things is a natural impulse over time. What seems beneficial at one time may become clutter as priorities change. Something useful initially can become burdensome later. Many cling to things just in case, sacrificing present freedom for future possibilities. Regularly letting go of unneeded items keeps your mind and space ready for new opportunities, preventing loss of momentum and keeping you agile. Guideline 15 warns against following traditions just for the sake of it, emphasizing a common form of reliance. Many people follow social customs and cultural habits just because it's expected, not stopping to think if these traditions actually benefit them. They often act out of habit rather than out of a thoughtful choice, doing things simply because that's how it's always been done. This means they stick to societal norms, even when those norms conflict with their own beliefs or goals. Such unthinking obedience can limit people, preventing them from discovering better ways to live and work. It also makes them vulnerable to manipulation by those who know how to use social pressure. Musashi, who stayed largely outside mainstream society, understood this well. Living as a ronin, he was already positioned on the outskirts, freeing him to question the status quo without any real risk. His outsider perspective allowed him to see opportunities that those entrenched in tradition often missed. He was able to create new fighting techniques because he wasn't restricted by conventional thinking. He explored different areas because he wasn't locked into a single career path. His ethical code was his own, not requiring official approval. Certainly, this path demanded courage and independence, but it also fostered innovative thinking and accomplishments that blind conformity would have stifled. Most innovative ideas emerge from those who dare to question established norms and common beliefs. However, breaking away from tradition doesn't mean discarding all customs and societal norms. Many traditions exist because they've successfully addressed problems or met genuine needs. The key is to understand the reasoning behind each tradition and determine if it still applies to your life. Some customs carry valuable wisdom handed down through generations, and ignoring them would be unwise. Others are outdated responses to problems that no longer exist, and some primarily serve the interests of certain groups rather than the greater good. Thinking for yourself involves choosing which traditions to follow based on your own reasoning instead of just following the crowd. It requires the willingness to stand out if that's what better aligns with your values and goals. Moving on to Guideline 16, avoid stockpiling weapons or training with more weapons than you need. In today's context, this means not collecting knowledge, tools, or skills that you won't actually use. Many people become gatherers rather than practitioners. They collect books they never read, tools they never use, and skills they never refine to a level of mastery. This kind of accumulation can feel like advancement, but it's really just going in circles without building real capability. It spreads your attention thin and hampers the focus needed to truly excel. Musashi concentrated on perfecting his skill with 2 swords rather than diffusing his energy across learning every weapon he came across. This focused approach allowed him to develop new ideas and insights that a broader, less deep method wouldn't have produced. He engaged in calligraphy, painting, and poetry not as unrelated hobbies, but as interconnected pursuits that enriched his understanding of universal principles. Each activity strengthened the others, creating a synergy rather than competing for his focus. This kind of integrated learning is much more effective than scattering efforts across unrelated areas. It creates positive feedback loops that accelerate growth and lead to those enlightening aha moments. Part 14. The seventh pillar, mortality and honor. Don't be terrified of death. You might leave your body behind, but hold tight to your honor. The 17th and 20th precepts deal with big questions everyone grapples with. How do you keep going when you know one day you'll die? When material stuff doesn't last, what's actually important? Why does life matter when everything you've built will eventually vanish? Musashi's thoughts on this stemmed from facing death repeatedly in countless lethal duels. He came to see that accepting death, oddly enough, allows you to genuinely live. To him, honor was the only thing that endured past the physical. Dread of dying often triggers other fears like failing, not being accepted, losing something, or encountering change. If you're petrified of dying, you might also be petrified of truly living. You shy away from risks that might help you grow because they could also bring hurt. You choose safety over grabbing opportunities, comfort over tackling challenges, and certainty over seeking adventure. This way of thinking narrows your existence until you're merely surviving instead of thriving. You get so obsessed with not dying that you overlook what it means to truly live. Musashi knew this was like dying too, just slower and more painfully than physical death. But facing death doesn't mean being reckless or rash. It's about understanding that, regardless of how carefully you live, death is inevitable. Given you can't stop it from coming, why not put your energy into truly living while you can? This shift moves your focus from clinging to what you've got to creating something meaningful. Instead of worrying about how you might lose something, you consider how you can contribute value. Rather than thinking about playing it safe, ponder how to grow stronger. Instead of stressing over the length of your life, contemplate how well you can live it. This change turns fear into motivation and stress into energy. Musashi faced death every time he fought a duel. These frequent encounters with mortality gave him rare insight. He knew life was both delicate and short, but instead of letting this frighten him, he embraced fearlessness. When you come to terms with the fact that today might be your last, other risks seem minor. Knowing your time is limited ensures you don't waste it on things that don't matter. When you realize physical items are temporary, you focus more on what could outlive your physical form. This clear view on mortality sharpens your understanding of what truly counts. Accepting that you'll die also liberates you from being ruled by social anxieties. Many actions are driven by fear of social death, like rejection, embarrassment, failure, or isolation. But once you've accepted the inevitability of your own death, these social fears lose power. You can stay true to your values even if they're not popular. You can pursue your dreams even if others don't approve. You can speak your truth even if it's unwelcome. You can take necessary risks even if they might result in failure. This release from social anxiety is one of the greatest gains from accepting mortality. If the body is temporary, what's worth preserving? Musashi argued that honor is. He defined honor as living according to your deepest beliefs, no matter the circumstances. Honor isn't about adhering to societal rules or meeting others' expectations. It's about ensuring what you do aligns with what you believe is right. It's about keeping your promises, standing by your convictions, and having the courage to do so when it counts. It's about showing respect both to others and to yourself. Honor is the only thing that remains when everything else is stripped away. It's what people remember about you once you've departed. But honor is also something you carry with you every day. Living honorably means you can face yourself without shame or regret. You know you're striving to live up to the highest understanding of what's right. It brings an inner peace and sense of self-worth that no amount of success can provide. It also builds trust with others who know you act in accordance with your values. This trust opens the door to real connections and shared achievements. People generally prefer to collaborate with someone they trust, even if they're not a big fan of that person. But when it comes to someone they don't trust, even a friendly demeanor won't convince them to team up. Now, let's explore Musashi's teachings, especially the points he makes with his 18th and 19th rules. He cautions against getting too attached to material possessions or land as a safety net for old age, and suggests showing respect to Buddha and other spiritual figures without expecting them to bail you out. Once you truly accept that life is finite, you stop stockpiling stuff for a future that might not come. You begin channeling your efforts into mastering skills and building relationships that bring satisfaction right now. You start valuing your current time and efforts, understanding that future needs aren't set in stone and may not even be relevant. This way of thinking doesn't mean ignoring the future or not preparing for it. It means you don't sacrifice what matters today by chasing security that's uncertain tomorrow. It encourages investing in things that are worthwhile, no matter how long you live. Stuff like skills, friendships, and life experiences enrich your life, whether it's long or short. Meanwhile, money and possessions only matter if you live long enough to enjoy them and are healthy enough to do so. Recognizing spiritual teachings, but not becoming overly dependent on them, reflects Musashi's pragmatic view on life's mysteries. He acknowledged there are powers beyond our comprehension and remained humble about how little control we really have. Yet, he didn't use spiritual beliefs as an excuse to slack off or act foolishly. He wasn't sitting idle, waiting for divine intervention when he could act. This perspective offers a balance between being aware of spiritual elements and staying accountable for your actions. It allows you to appreciate life's mysteries and joys without feeling powerless, while still taking responsibility for what you do and the consequences of those actions. Part 15. The eighth pillar is about a journey without an end point. It's about always sticking with your path. This final piece of wisdom from the Dokudo wraps up everything Musashi learned about living. But what exactly is the way? It's not a one-size-fits-all guide or a set of instructions to follow blindly. It's a more personal and profound idea. It's how you uniquely express the fundamental principles that make life fulfilling and effective. It's that path that lights up when what you do aligns with what genuinely matters to you. For Musashi, his way began with the sword. Diving into mastering swordsmanship gave him the discipline, focus, and strategies that fueled his future achievements. As he matured, he realized the same principles that define a great swordsman could apply to all aspects of life. Things like strategy, timing, balance, adaptability, being present, and commitment are just as important in relationships, the arts, and personal development as they are in combat. The way of the sword morphed into a broader journey towards living with expertise and purpose. Taking something specific and shaping it into a broader concept is what true mastery is about. Your road might start in business, art, sports, caregiving, or any passion you have. What's important isn't where you start, but how deeply you dive into it. It's all about getting passionate and committed enough to discover those core principles that drive effective action. Once you grasp these principles, you can implement them across all parts of your life. Being top-notch in one area gives you insights to enhance everything you do. This is what Musashi meant by understanding one thing deeply allows you to understand 10,000 things. However, finding your way goes beyond just following your interests. It involves delving into your passion like a detective, seeking out deep truths, not just for entertainment or easy fixes. You need to question everyday practices and carve out your interpretation. It's about striving for excellence and not settling for just okay. It's about pushing through tough patches when progress seems to stall. Most importantly, you stay open to new insights that might challenge or reshape your beliefs and practices. The way unveils itself through genuine practice, not just ideas, unfolding slowly for those fully dedicated to the process. You can't read about the way in books or learn it from someone else. You have to prove it by living it. Once you discover your path, the real test lies in sticking with it. It's trickier than it looks. Life is full of distractions, temptations, and shortcuts that seem like a quick route to success. Others may challenge your methods, offering alternate paths they believe are superior. Setbacks could make you question whether your approach is correct. Clashes will arise between taking shortcuts and investing in long-term growth. All these situations test how faithful you are to your way. Those who choose enduring growth over quick wins eventually develop standout skills. In contrast, those who choose comfort and quick solutions remain mediocre. Over time, these differences add up and become apparent. Staying on your path involves continual refinement and evolution. The way isn't a destination, but rather a direction. As you grow in your understanding and capabilities, your version of the way will become more profound and effective. What once looked like mastery is merely the start line for the next stage. You have to let go of tactics that once worked, but now hold you back. Be ready to learn from any source that can deepen your understanding. Maintain faith in your overall path while being adaptable with your approach and methods. This demands a rare blend of confidence and humility that not many manage to sustain. The concept of the way isn't just about being good at something, it's also got a moral side. Mastering a skill is one thing, but it's about using those abilities for something bigger than just yourself. When you're in a position to sway others or make a difference, you've got the duty to use that influence thoughtfully. The way encourages you to use your talents with wisdom, kindness, and integrity. It's not just about acting ethically, it's smart, too. Using power selfishly tends to backfire as it attracts resistance. However, when you wield your influence for the greater good, it fosters collaboration and support. making your work more effective. The way pushes you to be impactful enough to make a difference while having the insight to make it a positive one. Crucially, the way gives life meaning that goes beyond just individual achievements. When you're on this journey, you're not merely chasing personal goals, but are part of something larger and universally significant. You're engaging with and expressing ideas that people have been exploring throughout history. You're contributing to humanity's ongoing quest for better living, creating a foundation for future generations based on what you've learned. This link to a broader context offers a sense of purpose that makes even difficult times worth it. It allows you to find joy in the journey itself, rather than seeking validation or rewards from outside sources. It transforms your personal growth into a manner of serving others. Staying true to the way means maintaining this sense of purpose and direction regardless of what's going on around you. When you succeed, you don't become arrogant or complacent. Instead, you use those victories to better serve others. When you face setbacks, you don't throw in the towel, but learn and grow stronger and wiser from them. If others don't understand your approach or even criticize it, you keep moving forward on your path while being open to feedback that could help you improve. When new opportunities come, you consider whether they further or divert you from your primary aim. This consistency builds a life driven by integrity, where everything you do aligns towards a shared goal. Being on the way permanently means understanding that mastery is a lifelong journey, not a final endpoint. There's always more to understand, tweak, and give back. The aim isn't to arrive at any final stopping point, but to keep progressing on the right path. Each day is an opportunity to deepen your insight and improve your craft. Every challenge becomes a chance for growth. Every interaction enriches your understanding of people and effective action. With this outlook, aging becomes fulfilling because your experiences build upon each other into wisdom. Death gains significance because you've left behind something enduring. The way turns a fleeting life into a lasting legacy. This is the ultimate reason for human existence and the pinnacle of true learning. Part 16. The Art of Using Two Swords, Balancing and Integrating. In the heat of battle, most fighters pour everything into a single sword, wielding it with both hands, under the impression that brute force equates to superior skill. But not Miyamoto Musashi. He spotted a significant issue with relying solely on one weapon. When both hands grip one sword, you're limited to a singular strategy. If your opponent dodges or blocks your attack, you're forced to regroup, exposing yourself to counterattacks during that vulnerable moment. Musashi flipped conventional thinking by taking up two swords, one in each hand. This innovative approach unlocked a wealth of strategic options. It allowed simultaneous offense and defense, attacks from all angles, and adaptability without the need for pausing to reset. This strategic breakthrough was a broader lesson in tackling tough challenges. Musashi's method, the two heavens as one, or Niten Ichi Ryu, transcended mere combat gear. It emphasized developing mutually supportive skills, merging them instead of letting them compete. Many people zero in on mastering just one skill, betting all on it for their success. But like a single sword, if that strength is countered or loses relevance, they're caught off guard. They find themselves starting over instead of pivoting and applying their existing knowledge anew. This leaves them vulnerable, in an ever-shifting world. Musashi's approach involved polishing two distinct yet complementary skills. The katana symbolized strength, clarity, and decisiveness. The wakizashi embodied craftiness, adaptability, and strategic positioning. Together, they formed a more formidable duo than either could achieve solo. If one approach was thwarted, the other provided support. When one created an opportunity, the other capitalized on it. These swords worked in harmony, not as isolated elements. This systems-focused mindset of paired skills applies to modern careers, too. Many aim to dominate their field by solely enhancing their technical skills. Engineers pack their minds with engineering concepts. Sales pros master the art of selling. Managers bury themselves in management techniques. But true innovation comes from building skills that enhance core expertise. Rather than letting go of technical prowess, they add new power. An engineer who breaks down complex ideas for non-experts finds more opportunities than an engineer only fluent in tech jargon. A salesperson who understands psychology and strategic thinking can thrive where others only using sales tactics might falter. A manager who comprehends big-picture systems can tackle obstacles that might stall a manager focused only on day-to-day operations. These supplementary skills don't replace technical ones. They amplify them. The key lies in choosing skills that amplify each other rather than clash. Random talents thrown together may not align well. Thoughtful selection based on how they work together to solve your problems is essential. Musashi paired a long sword with a short sword because each addressed different aspects of winning battles. The long sword brought reach and strength, while the short sword offered speed and agility. Together, they managed all fighting scenarios and types of opponents. In your pursuits, your complementary skills should address various aspects of your challenges, offering backup plans when the main path is blocked and adaptable strategies when conditions shift. Developing a two-sword skill set involves a different training mindset than mastering just one. With one, there's the focus on perfecting a technique. With two, it's about coordinating multiple actions simultaneously, a concept Musashi called double awareness. Here, you juggle both your primary and supportive skills. You want those two skills to mesh perfectly, not fight each other. Mastering them together takes more time than just focusing on one, but the payoff is a powerful and adaptable skill set. You learn to handle complexity and uncertainty that might intimidate someone fixated on a single skill. The two-sword strategy teaches valuable lessons on finding balance and integrating skills. Musashi emphasized having both hands equally trained, not just relying on one to support the other, but developing each to stand alone when necessary. That way, you're not leaning too much on your stronger side. Plus, you've got a backup if you hit a snag. If your main skill gets sidelined for a bit, your secondary one can step in while the other bounces back. This kind of strength is crucial for long-term success in demanding fields. The mindset that comes with this two-sword philosophy might be its most crucial gift. If you only have one strategy for facing a challenge, you're likely to try to shoehorn it in, even if it doesn't fit well. With two polished approaches, you can choose the one that suits the situation best. This adaptability makes you more effective because you're always selecting the best tool for the job. It also inspires creativity, letting you mix elements from both strategies to come up with novel solutions, often Fresh ideas spring from combining existing skills in new ways instead of inventing brand new ones. This two-sword mindset isn't just for personal growth. It applies to organizational and strategic planning too. Companies that rely on a single product or market are vulnerable, like fighters using only one sword. But those building strengths in different areas can pivot more easily when things change. Leaders who think both strategically and tactically, using analysis and intuition, will find they have more options in any situation. No matter where you apply it, multiple complementary skills offer more choices, better resilience, and greater effectiveness than being outstanding at just one thing. That said, the two-sword approach takes patience and discipline. It requires more time to cultivate two skills instead of concentrating on one. You need to focus consistently on developing complementary skills, not just chasing the latest trends or quick wins. It means resisting the temptation to drop one when it's tough or progress stalls. The rewards appear only after both skills reach a decent level and start working together as a system. This kind of delayed gratification is challenging in a society that values fast results and instant feedback. Still, the long-term rewards of adopting the two-sword approach justify the effort for anyone committed to lasting excellence. This philosophy elevates you from merely having skills to embodying true capability. Part 17. In both fighting and just getting through the daily grind, it's key to keep a strong, calm mind. You've got to be ready to tackle what's next without getting all tense, while also not rushing things. Keeping your spirit steady, but without bias. Musashi describes a mindset that's rare but should be everyone's goal in training. This natural action happens when you're so good at something, you no longer need to consciously think about it. You just respond instinctively and correctly because you really get the situation and know your stuff inside out. It's not about being on autopilot. It's more like making smart calls with such ease thanks to how solid your skills are. Most people either overthink and freeze up, or they act too quickly and make careless mistakes. Overthinking ties you up in knots and wastes time, while rushing can lead to poor decisions because important details and consequences get ignored. Natural action is like a seamless blend of thought and action. You see, understand, and react as one smooth flow, not as separate stages. This helps you be both quick-thinking and thoughtful, careful yet bold. It's like acting on gut feeling supported by deep knowledge. Take professionals in any area, a top surgeon, for example. When they're operating, they're not consciously mulling over each move. They've trained so extensively that their skills and knowledge have become second nature. This lets them hone in on the unique complications during surgeries while their well-honed skills kick in automatically. It's the same with a master musician. They're not mentally placing each finger or managing their breathing. They've practiced so much that these actions are automatic, letting them focus fully on the music and interacting with other musicians. This idea applies whenever someone achieves real mastery in any field. The technical basics pave the way for creative or strategic brilliance, not as the final goal, but as a springboard. But this natural way of doing things isn't limited to specialized skills. It's something you can aim for in everyday stuff, like talking to people, making decisions, or solving problems. When you've truly mastered good communication, you can navigate any conversation easily without sticking to set scripts. You instinctively know what to say and how the other person needs to hear it. You adapt your message to suit their mood and situation, molding your approach to be most effective instead of just using your personal go-to methods. Flexible communication often leads to way better results than just applying techniques mechanically or reacting on pure emotion. It lets you be yourself while also being super effective and strategic with others. To build this natural action, you need to achieve what Musashi referred to as no mind or void consciousness. It's not about blanking out your mind, it's about reaching a state where your skills and knowledge work without you having to consciously think about them. Training helps you develop a level of competence where routine actions run on autopilot, allowing you to focus on new, unique challenges. Instead of burning mental energy stressing over techniques or worrying about getting things right, you can focus on understanding what's happening and deciding what to do next. Balancing unconscious skill with conscious awareness really pumps up your effectiveness. Yet, to get to a point of natural action, you can't skip steps. You've got to first learn the techniques deliberately, practice them with intent, and refine them over time. Only once they're ingrained do they become part of your unconscious skills. Getting really good at something often takes way more time than people expect and involves a lot more repetition than what feels necessary. You've got to stick with the basics, even when they start to feel really boring or too simple. It's crucial not to rush into the fancy stuff until those fundamental skills become second nature. This kind of patience during the learning process is what differentiates people who can perform actions naturally from those who are always stuck overthinking every move. Like Musashi mentioned, figuring out the right distance for every situation is key, whether it's staying close enough in a fight, keeping the right amount of emotional space in a relationship, timing things well in your plans, or making smart, strategic decisions. Getting the distance right means you're close enough to make things happen, but far away enough to maintain a clear viewpoint. It's about caring about the outcomes, but also stepping back to see the overall picture. You need to be aware of what's happening now, but not get swept away by it. Most folks either get too caught up and lose their perspective, or stay distant and become ineffective. Natural action involves finding that sweet spot and adjusting your position as situations change. This means constantly tweaking your approach as new things happen, rather than strictly sticking to a plan. Reaching a point of acting naturally also involves blending traits that might seem opposite. You need to be focused, but also relaxed, reactive, while staying unbiased, involved, yet able to step back, confident, but still humble. These traits, even though they seem to clash, come together in natural action because each one plays a part in reacting the right way. Determination is the drive and focus needed for doing things well. Staying calm helps you see things clearly and keeps your thinking straight. Being flexible lets you adjust as things change. Staying unbiased keeps your viewpoint clear and free from personal quirks or wishes. It's not about choosing one trait over another. It's about weaving them all together for a smooth and effective response. And maybe most importantly, natural action means fully embracing that nothing is for sure or set in stone. You can't plan every detail beforehand, nor can you control every little thing. Stuff changes faster than you can usually figure out. New details often mean you've got to rethink what you thought before. It's about rolling with this unpredictability instead of trying to squash it. You develop enough skill to handle whatever comes your way without needing to know beforehand what's going to happen. This requires shifting your focus from trying to control situations to developing the ability to manage any scenario effectively. Once this shift occurs, uncertainty becomes an opportunity rather than something to fear, and change becomes a source of energy rather than a disruption. Part 18. The Complete Integration, Pen and Sword. Musashi dives into something meaningful. To become truly well-rounded, you need to be good with both the pen and the sword, which metaphorically represents the mind and the body. Working together, many folks see these two things, the mind and the body, as separate, each needing its own kind of focus and intention. Take scholars, for instance. They often put all their energy into brain work and ignore staying active. Meanwhile, athletes are all about building their bodies, but don't always pay much mind to boosting their brain power. Then you have warriors, who might be top-notch fighters, yet miss out on appreciating the arts, while artists might nurture their creativity, but tend to skip on physical challenges. This kind of dividing things up results in people being really strong in some respects, but falling short in others. Musashi figured out that if you want to excel in anything, you've got to bring together every aspect of what it means to be human. To really reach your full potential, you've got to be the one holding both the pen and the sword. The pen stands for being thoughtful, creative, and contemplative, doing things like writing, reading, making plans, and expressing yourself. These allow you to grasp tricky topics, communicate well, and learn from your experiences. They make you more aware, broaden your perspective, and connect you to the wisdom that's been collected over time. Without the reflection and insight the pen provides, even the most significant experiences can go unnoticed and lose their potential benefits. You might keep making the same mistakes because you never truly figured out the cause. Similarly, you won't be able to build on your successes if you don't understand why they happened. Experience that isn't thoughtfully examined just adds years, not wisdom. On the flip side, the sword represents action, embracing physical, in-the-moment tasks. It's about training, practicing, taking chances, performing, and tackling real challenges head-on. These actions boost your courage, discipline, resilience, and ability to work well under stress. They help you close the gap between what you think might work in theory and what actually holds up in real-life situations. This gives you confidence built on real achievements, not just unproven ideas. A concept that sounds great but hasn't been tested in action is just an idea without real-world impact. You might be fantastic at talking about ideas you've never put into practice or forming opinions on tasks you've never attempted. Knowledge without action remains an academic exercise. It makes you informed but not necessarily effective, giving a false sense of understanding without real skill. Musashi unearthed something remarkable. Pen and sword don't just belong to the same whole, but actually strengthen each other when developed by one person. Mental attributes like persistence, discipline, and dealing with stress get sharper when you push your physical limits, while gaining an understanding of complex patterns, strategic thinking, and being able to communicate well comes from mental exercises. When one person hones both set of skills, they boost one another, leading to accomplishments that go beyond what either alone could achieve. A well-disciplined body helps sharpen the mind, and a mind that has been fine-tuned makes physical efforts more strategic and effective. Together, they form a person who not only understands what needs to be done, but also takes the necessary steps to make it happen. You can see this kind of mastery across various fields. The most innovative scientists don't just think with logic, they also get their hands dirty experimenting, putting their ideas to the test. Successful entrepreneurs combine dreaming big with rolling up their sleeves and diving into their ventures. They don't just come up with business strategies, they also directly engage with customers and products. Great teachers blend deep knowledge of their subject with hands-on interactive teaching skills. They're really gifted at breaking down complicated topics, so they're easy to understand, and they know how to adjust their teaching to fit all sorts of learners. It doesn't matter the field. Those who excel mix thinking with action, rather than choosing between the two. But this fusion requires a kind of growth that's not what most people are used to. Instead of just concentrating on mental skills or physical talents, you need to keep developing both throughout your life. This includes staying up on reading and writing, keeping fit, and honing practical skills. It's about diving into fresh ideas and theories and actually testing them in real-world situations. You've got to soak up lessons from books and teachers, but also learn from your own experience, both successes and screw-ups. It's about having the patience for slow and steady intellectual growth, while also diving into quick and decisive physical challenges. Balancing both takes more time than just focusing on one specialty, and it takes a lot of determination. But ultimately, it crafts a set of skills you can't get any other way. Musashi's life totally mirrored this kind of fusion. He was not only an unmatched swordsman, but also an accomplished painter, calligrapher, sculptor, and poet. These weren't just side activities for him. They were all connected by similar underlying principles. The grace, timing, and precision needed in swordsmanship were also key in producing top-notch calligraphy. The strategic thinking required to win a duel was akin to that needed to write moving poetry. The discipline he sharpened in martial training was integral to mastering the arts. By exploring all these areas, Musashi got deeper into the fundamental ideas that drove him. Each field taught him things that improved his abilities in the others. This blending also shifts how you deal with success and failure, quite different from what most folks go through. If your growth is all in one area, a setback can feel like the end of the world since your identity is so tied to it. But when you're spread across multiple disciplines, a failure is just another step in learning, making you stronger elsewhere. The resilience you develop from physical tests aids you in overcoming mental challenges. The critical thinking you gain from scholarly pursuits helps you figure out why a physical move might fall short. The creativity drawn from the arts inspires new ways to tackle everyday problems. This cross-training makes you tougher and more resourceful than someone who's only focused on one aspect. Plus, it makes life a lot more exciting because your curiosity and passion can wander through various experiences. Most importantly, blending intellectual and physical strengths makes a person who can connect different worlds and translate between varied perspectives. You can converse with thinkers and doers because you've been in each role. You notice links between ideas and practical applications that others might miss. You can bridge the world of theories and real-life practices, helping turn ideas into actions and actions into fresh insights. This role as a bridge builder is vital in a world where specialization can trap people in narrow lanes, preventing effective collaboration. Organizations need people who can both envision big ideas and make them happen. Society requires those who can understand intricate problems and come up with practical solutions. Blending brain and brawn equips you to fill this crucial role. Part 19. The Beat of Mastery. In the dance world and when you're making music, whether it's with flutes or guitars, timing is everything. It's what keeps everything moving smoothly. The same goes for other areas like the military, where timing is key for things like archery, shooting, and horseback riding. Timing is important in almost every skill you can think of. Musashi's insight is that real mastery isn't just about developing individual skills, but about flawlessly syncing them with the right timing. You might know all the steps, but if you get the timing or sequence wrong, it might all fall apart. Conversely, even if your skills are just okay, perfect timing can help you achieve what even top skills can't if their timing is off. Tuning into the rhythm and timing is what elevates someone from being merely good to truly masterful. A lot of people only consider timing when it's about deciding when to take action, whether that's speaking up in a meeting, launching something new, switching jobs, or starting a difficult conversation. But according to Musashi, timing is about more than just that. It operates on multiple levels simultaneously. It's not only the timing of actions in sequence, but also the timing of a whole string of actions within a bigger plan, and the timing of those plans within an even larger picture. To perform at a master level, you have to be aware of all these layers. You need to pick up on the immediate pulse of the moment, while also catching the wider rhythm of the situation and environment. This multi-layered awareness aligns your actions with bigger forces. When you hit that sweet spot, your efforts stop facing resistance and instead flow smoothly, amplifying their effect. Think about how this connects to the way we communicate and persuade. A message can hit very differently depending on when it's delivered. Info that lands well when someone's ready might be turned away if they aren't. Advice that's gold at one phase of someone's journey might turn worthless or even harmful in another. Arguments are compelling when someone is open and attentive, but might fall short when the listener is distracted or defensive. Good communicators pick up on these shifts in readiness. They can tell when someone is open to new thoughts and when they need time to sit with what they already know. They know when to push and when to wait things out. This understanding makes them more effective than those who don't pay attention to timing and just keep on delivering messages. They flow with the rhythms of human nature rather than fight against them. This principle fits just as well with personal growth and mastering new skills. Learning has its own natural flow and can't be rushed beyond certain limits. Busy practice periods need to balance with rest and reflection times. Pushing past comfort zones should be paired with time to cement learning. Gathering new information should be paired with applying that knowledge. Many people sabotage their progress by ignoring these rhythms, trying to keep a non-stop pace, often ending up with burnout in mind and body because they haven't let themselves pause to soak in what they've learned. They miss out on those moments of clarity that come in quieter times, when the mind puts together the pieces from active learning. In business and professional settings, timing works on longer cycles that many might overlook. Every industry has its rhythm of growth and calm, spurts of innovation and refining phases, expansion times, and moments to pull back. Markets follow cycles of optimism and gloom, boldness and caution, prosperity and scarcity. Organizations go through cycles of change and stability, urgency and tranquility, action and planning. Understanding these broader rhythms helps you align your actions with the flow, not against it. You can strategize major moves for times when the climate is open to change and prepare for tougher times during the good periods. Be ready for the upswing after the lows. Notice when trends are peaking and be prepared for what comes next. Being good at making smart strategic decisions is more about having a keen sense of timing than relying on random luck. Those who seem to have unfortunate timing often just lack this critical skill. To develop it, you need a different kind of attention than what most people are used to. It's not just about being engrossed in your personal agenda. You need to maintain awareness of the broader context around you. This means noticing patterns and cycles that unfold over months or even years, not just days or weeks. It's also crucial to recognize subtle signals indicating changes in mood or circumstances. You have to refrain from forcing your schedule onto situations that follow their own natural timing. It requires patience and the willingness to hold off until the right moment emerges, even if you're ready to get going. Just the same, you have to act swiftly when the moment is right, even if you feel slightly unprepared. Most people tend to do the opposite. They hesitate when they should dive in and push when they should wait. Musashi's take on timing was about understanding the rhythm of a situation. This means being attuned to the natural flow of events and recognizing the optimal times for different actions. Every scenario has its own unique rhythm, influenced by the people involved, what's at stake, environmental conditions, and historical context. Relying on fixed methods or solely past experiences doesn't cut it. It's about getting the knack for reading the current situation and sensing its specific rhythm. It's more of an art than a scientific process, requiring intuition over cold logic. This needs a level of presence and awareness that you develop through a lot of practical experience in demanding situations. Reading about it or simulations alone won't suffice. You've got to face real challenges and real consequences repeatedly. Arguably, the key to mastering timing is trusting your gut feeling about the rhythm of a situation, even when you can't explain it logically. Often, the best time to act shows up before you've got all the data you'd prefer. Sometimes, you have to move forward based on slight hints you notice, but can't fully explain. Situation rhythms can shift faster than your conscious mind might analyze. In these cases, your internal sense of timing needs to guide what you do. This means growing confidence in your instincts by consistently measuring them against real-world results. When your timing clicks, note what cues led you to act. If your timing's off, analyze what signs you missed or misread. Over time, this continuous feedback loop polishes your timing sense until it's reliably sharp, even in unfamiliar situations. Having this intuitive timing lets experts perform at their best, especially under pressure when there's no time for deep thinking. Part 20. So, when we dive into Musashi's idea of the void, it's about finding virtue that doesn't cast any shadows. Within that space, there's wisdom, principles, and a guiding path. The spirit in this context isn't a tangible thing. It's more like an empty expanse. His closing thoughts in the Book of Five Rings point toward the ultimate destination of all learning and the mysteries of life itself. This void isn't about being devoid of anything. It's a state of completeness where nothing extra is needed. It's the moment when everything you've learned and practiced becomes part of you, operating automatically without conscious effort. You simply act, embodying everything you know without overthinking it. That's when skill becomes instinct, knowledge turns into wisdom, and practice evolves into art. It's the goal every true craftsman strives for, even if they're not fully aware of it. It's becoming your skills rather than just using them. A lot of folks never get to experience this void because they hold on too tightly to their techniques, rules, and learned lessons. They keep adding more information, improving their skills, and seeking more experiences, relying on the training wheels that kick-started their journey. They prefer staying in control, sticking to specific rules and strategies they've planned. But this dependence slows them because consciously controlling everything isn't quick enough when facing rapid changes. Plus, it stifles creativity. Rigid plans can't handle the unpredictability of fresh challenges. Stepping into the void means letting go of control and trusting that your training has ingrained something deeper than just the conscious knowledge you possess. This leap can be scary for many people because it involves giving up the illusion of being in charge. Nonetheless, embracing the void isn't about discarding your techniques and knowledge. It's more about their culmination. You can't skip learning and understanding to get there. These stages are essential as they lay the groundwork. But eventually, those foundations need to fade into the background to allow what's built upon them to move more freely. That understanding sits quietly in the background, allowing the music to flow without interruption, which is the true point of their talent. Skills act like air, providing a medium for something greater to manifest. Musashi tapped into this notion when he talked about the spirit being nothingness. He didn't imply that spirit doesn't exist. It just can't be tightly grasped or controlled. It surfaces when everything else is in harmony and given space to move. It's the silence between thoughts, the pause between breaths, the split second between deciding and acting. Living in this void means your actions and choices come from a place of profound understanding, not just calculated moves or knee-jerk reactions. Your actions naturally fit every context because they're driven by wisdom, not just technique. It's about embodying principles rather than sticking to rules. It's showing deep understanding instead of merely using methods. It's less about chasing outcomes and more about the reason behind your actions. Moving from doing to being changes how you tackle life. Instead of trying to control results, you nurture qualities that naturally lead to success. Rather than forcing situations to match your desires, you flow with the influences at play. You don't just push through obstacles, you notice, understand what's needed, and respond accordingly. This often works out better and feels more rewarding than trying to control every detail. This void also represents a freedom from needing recognition or approval from others. When you act from the void, your actions are driven by your internal compass, not by external expectations. You do what's right because it is right, not because someone's watching or applauding. This nurtures a genuine integrity and honesty that people can immediately sense. People tend to trust those who operate from the void because their actions come from a space that's more substantial than just self-interest or social pressure. People might not know exactly what makes someone tick, but they can usually tell if that person is trustworthy and has good intentions. It's this kind of trust that forms the foundation for real leadership and the ability to make an impact. You can't pretend or force it. It has to be genuinely earned by consistently making sound decisions. One key aspect of this void is its ability to let you focus on something bigger than just yourself without losing your sense of self. When you operate from this mindset, your personal goals and the greater good naturally align. What helps you grow the most personally also benefits others. Your deep insights contribute to everyone's wisdom, and by honing your unique talents, you offer something valuable to the world. This balance eliminates the common conflict between self-interest and helping others that many people face. You can pursue your own growth and happiness while also assisting those around you. Blending personal and shared goals like this makes life truly meaningful. The void is also like a fertile ground for new ideas and creativity. When you're not bogged down by conventional methods, you begin to face each challenge with fresh thinking and innovative solutions. Your skills and knowledge no longer act as barriers, but as stepping stones for new possibilities. You start spotting opportunities that folks stuck in traditional mindsets might overlook. You can see connections between things that seem unrelated to others. Where some see roadblocks, you see potential solutions because you're not limited by their restrictive beliefs. This kind of creativity is what enables some to make significant strides ahead, while others are stuck with minimal gains. It's less about IQ or sheer knowledge and more about freeing yourself from outdated habits. Getting to this void is a strange balance of working really hard and completely letting go. You have to train intensely and study extensively to pave the way to reach this state. Yet, you also have to be able to let go of the results of all that hard work. You tirelessly sharpen your abilities, but detach from over-identifying with them. You care deeply about how you perform, yet remain indifferent to the praises. You are wholly committed to personal development while also understanding that true growth means surpassing any desires for it. Mastering this paradox isn't something you can just figure out by thinking. It's something you have to live through. Reaching the void isn't like finding a permanent spot where you stay forever. It's more like a skill you can tap into when the situation calls for it. There will still be times when you need to fall back on traditional methods like careful planning and logical thought. The void doesn't replace these skills, but it becomes another resource you can draw upon when circumstances are too complex, novel, or changing too rapidly for the usual approaches. It's also the space you enter to perform at your best, whether in a competition, teamwork, or while creating something entirely new. Being able to access the void makes you adaptable to any challenge and allows you to contribute positively in any situation. It not only makes you valuable to others, but also offers you deep satisfaction. This is the essence of Musashi's teachings and the highest human achievement. It's available to anyone willing to fully invest themselves in this journey.